Welcome to the 21 Minutes or Less podcast. I'm Keisha Milana,
And I'm Nakia Smith.
and today we're talking to y'all about the process of entrepreneurship. And so, most people normally talk about it after they already started making money, they already grown a following, and we want to just kind of talk about it on our journey. Of course, we started our podcast. What was it like?
In
8 months
March.
ago?
In March, 2020.
So 6 months ago. So we like on episode 20. This like 28.
You don't know.
This is like 28.
We are on episode 25, I believe.
We already recorded episodes though. Like we have more episodes than what's posted.
That's true.
So by the time they hear this gonna be like 28 or something, maybe 29. But anyway, that's 6 months of like lessons, experience that we've gotten, and we just want to share that with y'all today. So first of all, Nakia, what's like the biggest lesson that you feel like you've learned just throughout the whole podcast?
Girl.
One, don't go on a tangent.
Okay,
just
I'm gonna
one.
try not to. This gonna have to be a series because
For sure.
Because it's just so much. But one thing I'm learning right now is that I can't do everything myself. Like, when you first start off, of course, you're not really making no money. You don't have the budget to like really hire the people that you need to be, in place to help you with your entrepreneurship endeavor. However, you start to realize that you cannot be operations, outreach, assistant, marketer. Like
Graphic designer,
it's so many
business coach.
pieces to being an entrepreneur that it is unrealistic to think that you can do this alone. You need a team, you need a support system, you need a few interns, you need an assistant. It's just so much that you need. So if there's one thing that I learned is that you cannot go on this journey alone.
I like that, I guess. I think that's very important for sure. I think for me it's been like be very intentional with what you give your time and energy to. Like, I know for this podcast, when we first started, I feel like I wasn't giving it the energy or time or attention that it needed to be able to help it to grow. But now it's like I'm very much aware that if this is something I want to righteously be a business and not just a hobby, then it needs to be taken seriously. It needs to be able to have my attention, whether it's for just one day a week, all day that day pretty much, or, several times throughout the week. And so I had to really like learn how to manage my, not just time, but energy. Like, very much so. And so I'm very particular about how I give my energy to the podcast, because I also have to figure out like if I'm putting everything into this podcast, it's like my personal life might fall on the back burner, or like just being very, very, very intentional with how much time and energy I give to the podcast. Because if I don't give it enough, it's not gonna work. It's gonna be like now one of your co-hosts feel like, oh, I'm doing all the work. But then if you give it too much too, it's like you gonna be the one who feel like I'm giving this my all, and nobody is going as hard as me, or oh, I'm not giving my personal business or my personal brand the time that it needs either. So it's really a lot about being able to just be intentional with your time, because it's never gonna be enough, or it's always gonna be too much. Like, it's never gonna be the perfect balance. So you just gotta be very specific with how much time you want to give something.
Absolutely. I think that goes in with like creating goals, and then making sure whatever goals you create align with the mission and values of whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a podcast or a product or a service. And then going from there and coming up with a plan. I think once you kind of like get a system in place and get organization in place, all those things that you're talking about will kind of like start to flow.
Yeah, and I think you also have to be okay with constantly rebranding. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna always be something different or something new that you like, maybe I like this logo better, or maybe I like this title better, or maybe I like this format or this platform. Like, something's always going to be changing, whether it's, you know, who you're recording with, how you're recording, going from a phone to equipment for podcasting, going from Anchor to, your own hosting site or whatever it might be, switching the logo up, changing the colors, switching how you post on social media. Like, something is always going to be needed to get updated
Yes,
in any
absolutely.
business. So I think as long as you prepared to constantly evolve and you able to, again, that goes back to giving things energy. If you're not giving it the right energy, you're not going to even recognize that something is going wrong or something could be updated to do better. It's kind of going to be, you don't know until things start crashing. But when you start, giving the business your attention, your energy's there, you're self-aware, aware of what's going on in the business, then you can start to see those things before it even becomes a real issue. And that's how you stay at the forefront of just updating your brand, rebranding yourself. And that's when you finally start to see like what works and what doesn't. Because when you first start the business, I feel like you kind of just playing it safe. Like, you trying what you think is gonna work. Like, you got your idea of how is this gonna work and how am I gonna get to the top, and that's what you rolling with. But once you start to, go into the valleys a little bit, then you can be like, actually, let's try something else. Let's see if something else works. So I think it's about just being able to always stay like playing with different ideas.
Absolutely. I don't know why, but when you was talking about that, the Nike slogan came to my mind, like just do it. Because I think in entrepreneurship, a lot of people have an issue with perfectionism, and like they'll wait until something is perfect, but in reality, you just do it, and then, like you said, along the way, you evolve and you change and stuff like that. Not saying that you just come out at the gate with something raggedy. That's not what I'm saying.
But again, that's hard though. I think that's something worth talking about.
Yeah.
Like, how do you find that balance of not procrastinating until it's perfect, but also delivering
Something
good
that's
quality? Yeah,
value.
quality and valuable. Because sometimes, I'll be honest, like, I see a lot of new business owners, like, their product is great. It's just like their marketing or the packaging or whatever, like the extra stuff isn't so great. So it's like, but does that diminish the quality of the product? Or is it like, I feel like that's what people are being perfectionists for. It's like they got a really good product or a really good idea, but they don't know all the extra stuff, such as marketing, packaging, shipping, like how to make that stuff work and be quality and be valuable. So
That's what I
it's a
think. That
balance.
kind of go back to my first point of having a team. Even if you cannot get a team, find a coach. Find a mentor. Find somebody who is in your industry that you can look at from a distance. There are different ways you can go about doing stuff to make sure that you are giving your all and giving your best. Research. There are a lot of free products and things out there. Buy a book that's what you need help with. Go to YouTube, go to Google. It's like there are things in place that are at our
Yeah.
at the-
But again, playing devil's advocate,
yeah.
I feel like being entrepreneurship is like an art, not a science. So it's like what worked for them, I could do it the exact same way and it might not work for me. Or I could take a little bit and tweak it and make it my own and it still not work for me. So it's like, as a new business owner, yeah, it's easy to be like, yeah, get a business coach, but you might not have the money for that. And it's easy to be like, well, yeah, you got free resources, YouTube, such and such, such and such. But people can give you tips all day. You don't know what works until you apply them.
Yeah.
Like, and that goes back to just not being afraid to just try stuff. And, when you see yourself dipping into those valleys, starting to just switch it up and not being scared. Because ultimately, again, we don't know what's going to work for our business until we do it. So you do need to be reaching out and seeing like what's all the different ways that other people who have the success that I want are doing things. So now I can try to apply these things and take a little bit from each person and make it my own. But yeah, everybody don't have the immediate funds to be like, okay, I'm gonna get a business coach, or I'm gonna get this type of structure, or even with getting help. Some people don't have the funds to get no help because let's be real, it's America. Everybody want to get paid for their time. Everybody want to get paid for something. So if you don't have the startup funds to get that help, it can be a longer process of figuring out what's what within your business, which
That's
is not necessarily a bad
mhm.
thing. It's just, are you willing to be patient? Are you willing to do the research? Are you willing to, you know, do work on your own for a year or two or a couple of years until you get some help? It just goes back to you and what you're willing to do, not rushing things like you said earlier, like just being able to stay down with your process.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I also want to like put out that you don't want to take your disadvantages and use them as excuses either,
Mhm.
because I believe in making a way out of no way.
For sure.
I believe like you gonna figure it out. Like you gonna figure out a way to get what you want at the end of the day. However you go about doing that, that depends on the individual. But you don't want
Or you
to.
won't.
Or yeah, or you just stay where you at.
Sometimes, not even that. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes it's good to fail at stuff to
Mhm.
realize what else you might be good at. Like
True.
entrepreneurship, let's get this straight right now. It's not for everybody. Like some people are just gonna have, hobbies or startup businesses that fail. Like that's okay. It's like that's cool because boom, you might fail, then boom, you go get you a CEO position doing where you don't have to take on as much responsibility, as much risk, and that's your perfect dream type of thing. You wanted the six figures, you just thought entrepreneurship was the best or quickest way to go, and no, it wasn't. So like it's not for everybody. It's okay to fail. It's okay to not be good at stuff. Like even me, I had businesses where I'm like, I thought it was gonna be a real legit business, and it was more so like a side hustle hobby, and I realized like, oh yeah, I don't really want to do this long term. It was just cool for right now. Like I
Mhm.
used to have a slushy business, and I would have like alcoholic slushies delivered to people's houses. That
Mhm.
was so much money. It was easy. I knew how to market it, I knew how to promote it. But it was like once I came to Atlanta, I'm not in the college town no more. It's not, it's gonna be farther drives. Do I really want to freeze this and then have it melt 30 minutes driving over there? So it's like you just gotta learn to update and adjust based on how the business is going, what you want.
Absolutely. And I think people think about entrepreneurship in a one track mind, thinking that they have to be like the CEO or a
Mhm.
startup. Like there's other ways you can be an entrepreneur, and of course investments, being a partner, being a silent partner with somebody, and what that means is you're just a person that's putting the funds up. You're not really operating in the business. You just getting a profit from whatever deal that you make with that person who is running the business. So
Mhm.
there are different ways you can go about entrepreneurship. So I would say just again research, look at all your options, and figure out if you do want to be an entrepreneur, which entrepreneurship route is best for you.
And you can have a personal brand that's technically still entrepreneurship. Like people have it all the time where they just a LLC, like they a business for themselves.
Mhm.
Especially like artists, like rappers, singers, stuff like that, or like comedians or like influencers. That's like a big thing, popping up recently with social media as well. That's still a business, and some people feel like, oh my gosh, you know, how can I be a business or how can I do this like a business when it's just me? But it's like just like any other business, you got to go through the processes of researching, getting help. A lot of influencers or people who are personally their own brands, like they don't feel like they need help because their brand. And it's like, no, you could be a comedian, but you don't know how to market yourself. You don't know which comedy clubs to hit up, things like that. You could be an influencer, but you don't know which pages to tag in your pictures to make them go farther, or just things like that. So don't be afraid to get a team, even if you are, your own brand, or you're the business, just you. Like, don't be afraid. Even with stuff like public speakers, motivational speakers, somebody got to help you get booked at these events all over the world that you want to get to.
Hire a publicist.
Yeah, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Like she was saying, investments, that's a part of entrepreneurship too. Like, when you first start your business, a lot of people think you just start making money immediately, and you don't. You got to pay your people that's helping you. You got to, invest in yourself. Get you some more books to start excelling more and getting to those next heights. Don't be afraid to pay for promo sometimes. Don't be afraid to, pay to get on the front of a cover of a magazine. It's like, this is all stuff that can help your brand. But again, you got to be willing to invest and do the research and spend your time, your energy, your effort to get these results.
And I think another misconception of entrepreneurship is that you have a lot of free time.
Girl, if misconceptions could walk, that would be across the country. Because, yes, people be like, oh, I don't want to do this and that and that. And it's like, with entrepreneurship, you could just, wake up. Of course, you can wake up when you want to wake up and go to sleep when you want to go to sleep. Take breaks when you want to take breaks. But you still got to put the work in. If you an influencer and you ain't reached out all day to get no collabs, how you going to further your business? You still got to do outreach. You got to do that yourself. You got to be the one to market yourself. You might have to take your own pictures. Like, it's really not easy at all. So don't just look at other people and where they are right now and think it's easy, because you don't know where they went and started at to get to that point.
Yes. Absolutely. And time management plays a heavy part in entrepreneurship, because you don't have somebody telling you when things have to get done, unless you are collabing or have partnerships. But you're pretty much creating your own schedule and coming up with your own deadlines. So time management definitely plays a role.
And accountability too. Like, if you an entrepreneur and you work by yourself, you got to hold yourself accountable. When you put something on your schedule for a certain day or a certain time, are you actually doing those things at that certain day or certain time? Did you waste your time making a whole schedule that you're not following? Are you cheating yourself? Are you still... Also, as an entrepreneur, you have to make time for yourself. Like, personal development is huge as an entrepreneur. Like, you have to. You just have to, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind with the changing times. You're going to feel burnt out. You're not going to feel healthy and, able to do the things you need to do energy-wise. So take care of your body. Don't be afraid to spend some of your time doing things you need to do as far as, like, self-care throughout your day. It might not seem like the most important thing. You might think, oh, these actual business things are important. But I promise you, you are just as important as everything in your business, because if you was to die today, like, your business will be gone if you don't have the right system set up, So, yeah, invest in yourself. Go for a walk. Eat some healthy food. Cook, Sometimes as entrepreneurs, especially when we knew, we'd be like, but I don't have time. And it's like, no, you know how much time you got every single week, 168 hours. What are you going to do with these time? What are you going to do with this time?
Yes, I totally agree. I feel like we kind of went on a tangent and was like all over the place. I really do, but I think we gave some good advice. So if you're listening to this podcast and there are specific things that you would like us to talk about as far as entrepreneurship or self-care or anything like that, you can always email us at 21minutes-or-less@gmail.com, or you can hit us with a DM or, a comment on our Instagram page as well. So feel free to always engage and reach out to us to talk about specific topics that you want to hear.
Definitely. And go follow our pages on Instagram and Facebook. It's 21 Minutes or Less. On YouTube, it's 21 Minutes or Less Podcast. And then y'all can go follow our personal pages as well. Mine is Keisha Milana.
And mine is Miss Butterfly 21 MISS.
Yes, and my Keisha is spelled KEYSHA. I never say that, but I don't want people to spell it regular and then not find me. So, Keisha Milana and Miss Butterfly 21. And we'll see y'all on the next episode.